Are we in public session?
Say that, Jay.
We're in public session.
Just hang on for the monitor.
Say it again.
Yeah, we're waiting for the monitor.
All right.
On the screens there. Just hang on a minute there.
Yeah, okay. It's all right. We're in it, aren't we?
That's it.
That's it, I think.
So let's go back to it there. Just waiting for the screen there. 4. I have to assume we're in public session. I can't get the confirmation there, you know, he's got the wrong screen. Same public session, we'll continue. Yeah. Just waiting. 4.
We're not up yet.
4. Hold on. Keep going there, George. That's it. Thanks, George. Yeah, that's it, George.
Yeah, we're in public session.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're in public session. As we have a quorum of 4 members, I will call the meeting to order. I remind members and witnesses to turn off your mobile phones as they interfere with the sound system and make it difficult for parliamentary reporters to report the meeting, and also television coverage and web streaming will be adversely affected. I've received apologies from Senator Michael McDougall. You're all very welcome here for our first meeting of the Joint Committee. And I want to congratulate newly elected members who are joining us here this afternoon. It's a great honour for me to be chair of this Joint Oireachtas Committee, and I look forward to working with you all positively and constructively. We're meeting with the EU Commission Vice President, Mr Andrus Ansip, regarding the digital single market. I propose we meet with Mr Ansip now in public session. Following the public session, we'll have a short private session. Is that agreed? I propose that the Vice President will speak for 10 to 15 minutes, followed by a questions and answer session where each member may ask a question or comment not exceeding 3 minutes. And I'm just conscious that the Vice President needs to be at another meeting by 1 o'clock, so we might just keep that in mind. Is that agreed? The purpose of this afternoon's meeting is to engage with the EU Commission Vice President, Mr Ansip, to discuss the progress in the completion of the digital single market at both EU and national level. The completion of the digital single market has been identified by the European Commission as one of its top 10 political priorities, and Ireland is committed to playing its part in the completion of such a single market. The value of the digital single market to the European economy is estimated to be approximately €400 billion per annum, and as such it's hoped that Ireland's economy will in turn benefit from the completion of the digital single market. This meeting is an opportunity for the Joint Oireachtas Committee to get an update in relation to the completion of the digital single market, and it also presents an opportunity for the Vice President to bring us up to date with regard to how progress is being made and Ireland's performance in the digital market compared to other member states. Ireland is currently ranked 8th out of 28 member states in terms of digitalisation, and it's also currently performing better than the EU average, but it has improved at a slower rate than the EU as a whole. You're very welcome here this afternoon, Vice President. We're delighted to have you here and we look forward to your opening statement. I wish to draw your attention to the fact that by virtue of sections 17, 12, 11 of the Defamation Act 2009, witnesses are protected by absolute privilege in respect of their evidence to this committee. However, if you're directed by the Chairman to cease giving evidence in relation to a particular matter and you continue to do so, you're entitled thereafter only to a qualified privilege in respect of your evidence. You are directed that only evidence connected with the subject matter of these proceedings is to be given, and you are asked to respect the parliamentary practice to the effect that, where possible, you should not criticise or make charges against any person, persons or entity by name or in such a way as to make him, her or it identifiable. I also wish to advise you that any submission or opening statements you have made to the committee will be published on the committee website after this meeting. Members are reminded of the long-standing parliamentary practice to the effect that they should not comment on, criticise or make charges against a person outside the Houses or an official either by name or in such a way as to make him or her identifiable. I now call on you, Mr. Ansip, to make your opening statement, and you may wish to introduce your officials.
Thank you, Honourable Chairwoman, honourable members of the Joint Committee, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great pleasure to be here. Of course, I have written opening statement, but I think it will be quite artificial to spend 10 minutes for this presentation, and that's why I think I will put this written statement in the internet. You already got on paper, I guess, my written statement, and I will just reflect on those questions marked already by Honourable Chairwoman. Yes, it's really so that Ireland is doing, in digital meaning, really well in the European Union. Ireland ranks, according to Digital Economy and Society Index, 8th in the European Union, but talking about e-commerce, about small and medium-sized enterprises, then Ireland is doing really well, ranks number 1, first place in the European Union, and performance is twice better than average in the European Union, talking about percentages. As I remember, 32% of Irish small and medium-sized companies are selling online. Average of the European Union is just 16. And talking about cross-border sales, the same story. Ireland is in the first place in the European Union. We were able to create single market in the European Union 20 years ago, and everybody benefited from this single market. I'm absolutely sure Ireland benefited from this single market. But we have single market only in physical meaning. Digital single market does not exist. And we have to create this digital single market, as you correctly mentioned, according to analysis prepared by the European Parliament in the year 2014 already. Cost of non-Europe in digital meaning is huge, 415 billion euros per year, and with the years, this amount of money will increase, not decrease. There is an urgency to create digital single markets. Unfortunately, I have to say that we are not moving ahead like rockets. 4 prime ministers sent a letter to their colleagues already in the year 2010, and they proposed to create digital single markets in the European Union. Decision was made. We will have digital single market in the year 2015 in the European Union. And look, in the year 2015, we got a plan. We got a digital single market strategy. So we have to hurry up. Last May, we launched this digital single market strategy. On basis of this strategy, we made our first proposals last December already. This year is delivery year. During this year, we would like to make all those proposals based on digital single market strategy. Last December, we proposed to allow portability of the content. It's one detail maybe in this digital single market strategy, but quite an important detail. Today, 20% of Europeans are spending at least 10 days during the year in another EU member state, and when traveling in some other EU member states, they would like to get access to their legally bought digital content. But because of copyright restrictions, they cannot. And at the same time, we know, in technical meaning, it's not a big issue. 20% of internet users in the European Union are using VPN to get access to digital content. Even 68% of film viewers said that they are using free downloads to get access to movies. VPN is not free of charge. 6, 8, 10 euros per year, per month, 20 euros per free month. And if paid, you don't think that you are doing something in a wrong way. But authors are not remunerated. And that's why we made our portability proposal, and I would like to ask also support of your committee to this proposal. Then in February we made our 700 megahertz proposal. It seems it's very technical, and that's why Parliament has to deal with 700 megahertz. But we can just dream about getting 5G or Internet of Things or remote surgery without clarity in 700 megahertz. It will never become as a reality. As you know, we propose to divide in two parts of this 700 megahertz bands. Upper side, it will be up to telecom companies, and sub 700 megahertz band will be up to broadcasters, wireless mics, etc. They are using in the theaters and so on. Now we know that in some member states they said that, oh yeah, to get clarity for the year 2020, it's too early. 2022 which will be much better. So, of course, we can say that 2030 is also okay. But at the same time, we know that in South Korea, for example, during their Winter Olympic Games, which will take place in the year 2018, they will start to use major elements of 5G. I took part in G7 meeting in Japan, and they stated that during Olympic Games 2020 they will use already 5G. Ericsson and Telia stated that they will start to use major elements of 5G in two towns, in Stockholm and Tallinn, since 2018 already. So if we will not push on speed in making clarity, meaning 700 megahertz, then one day we have to say once again that we are lagging behind. If this new generation network will be not available, then we can just dream once again about apps created on basis of those new technologies. So you can know theoretically how it works, but practice is creating best ideas. So apps. It seems that we're talking about some kind of peanuts, but we had in the European Union in the year 2014 1.8 million jobs in app industry, and we will have 4.8 million jobs according to analysis just in app industry in the European Union in the year 2018, plus 3 million jobs. But 700 megahertz, it's not just about app industry, it's about connected cars, self-driving cars, about remote surgery, etc., etc. So we have to do our utmost to get clarity in this maybe not very sexy issue. So e-commerce. So it was said already, Ireland has leading position in this meaning in the European Union. But as we know, this market in the European Union, in meaning of e-commerce, is fragmented, really fragmented. We organized in the European Commission mystery shopping survey, And according to this survey, just 2% of those people who wanted to get access to some websites to buy some goods or services from another member states, they were blocked. 2% couldn't get access. We can say it's not a big problem, but 27% from those people who got access to websites, they couldn't register because they were from wrong countries. Their IP address was wrong. Then 32% from those people who were able to register it, they faced with delivery problems, which are natural problems, and we have to find solution also for those problems. But and that's why we made our parcel delivery proposal. But even 26% from those people who wanted to buy some goods and services from another country, who didn't have any kind of problems with the delivery issues, they couldn't pay. We have SEPA in the European Union and single European payments area, but nevertheless they didn't accept their credit cards because those credit cards they were issued in wrong countries, in Ireland, in Estonia, for example. So I don't think it's really a single market when just 36% of all those people who tried to buy some goods and services from other EU member states, they were able to conclude their purchases successfully. So we have to abolish unjustified geo-blocking. In coming weeks, I'm talking too much already. In coming weeks, we will make our second copyright proposal and also telecom review proposal. I know that in Ireland you would like to cover all the country with high-speed fiber network. According to my understanding, access to the internet has to be one of those fundamental rights, and that we have to do this. But as we know, especially in those areas where density of population is not so high, there is not tough competition, and according to market conditions, businesses, telecom service providers, they are not so much ready to invest on those fiber networks. It means we have to create better conditions, better environment to attract those investments, and I would like to say we are trying to move or to turn Europe on the same direction Ireland is moving already in this field. So talking about second copyright package proposal, it will be quite large proposal touching different issues, dealing with exceptions. I'm talking about educational exceptions, handicapped people, text and data mining. We have to make text and data mining available for all the scientists across the European Union. Today, in majority of EU member states, scientists they cannot use text and data mining. We would like to provide better access to digital content to our people. Our aim is to double cross-border access to digital content for our people, and yeah, this is the aim of our second copyright proposal. And in the end of this year, we will make also free data flows proposal. We have to create an environment in the European Union where free data flows they will be possible in the European Union, and we will not have to face always with data localization trends. So thank you very much for inviting me. I'm ready to take your questions.
Thank you very much, Vice President. And before I ask my colleagues, I just have one question in relation to cybersecurity. Reports have shown that cyber crime is on the rise in Ireland, and just if you have any particular views with regard, do you feel that Ireland is more at risk with regard to that as opposed to other member states, our European counterparts? And just in relation to the European Cybersecurity Organisation and their role in liaising with national bodies, if you could maybe expand on that, on how you would see the European Cybersecurity Organisation liaising with member states. And in relation to the privacy shield between the EU and the US, if you would have any comments on that, and do you feel that the Privacy Shield offers sufficient protections to EU citizens with regard to data and data privacy? Do you want to deal with them there straight away?
Yeah, thank you very much for those questions. I will begin with the Privacy Shield. So I would like to say that when the Safe Harbour was created, then the aim of the Safe Harbour was really good. Aim was to protect data of Europeans. And in the year 2000, we didn't have any kind of ideas what kind of technical instruments for mass surveillance, for example, there will be in the year 2013, for example. But 2013, we got this understanding that Safe Harbour wasn't safe enough. So we got information about PRISM, about Snowden, and so on. And already in the year 2013, we started to negotiate with Americans. Then we got a court ruling. We were almost there. Reaching an agreement, and then because of court ruling, we got an understanding that we had to continue with those negotiations, and then now we concluded those negotiations. This privacy shield, EU-US privacy shield, according to my understanding, is much better solution and future-proof solution, because there is also this review clause. So this will be a process. We don't have to wait for another 13 years to understand that we have some kind of problems. If there will be some problems, we can immediately fix those problems. And since 1st of August this year, companies can join the EU-US Privacy Shield, and now we already have approximately 100 companies which joined with this Privacy Shield. Approximately 190 companies, they are in process in the United States, and approximately 250 companies, they just prepared their applications to start with this joining process with Privacy Shield. So take-up was, according to my understanding, as we expected, and it's definitely needed. We have to allow free data flows, not only across the European Union, but also between the European Union and our partners, but at the same time, we have to protect everybody's privacy. About cybersecurity, I'm sure this is an area where no single member state is able to deal separately with those issues. We have to cooperate. And I can give an example from the country I know best. In the year 2007, we replaced Bronze Soldier war monument from the city center to the cemetery, and then we faced with the riots during the 2 nights. In some cities, they have that kind of riots after every football game, local team lost, but for us it was totally new. But then we faced also with the cyber attacks. But just because of very fruitful cooperation between national CERTs, computer emergency response teams, we were able to cut majority of those attacks before they crossed our borders. We were able to deal with those cyber attacks, but it was because of cooperation. And now we have the Network and Information Security Directive. We have to implement this directive, but it's this directive is also about cooperation and transparency. Not transparency in making public about all those cyber attacks, but to be informed. It's important for stakeholders and those who are dealing with that cybersecurity issues. We launched also cybersecurity public-private partnership proposal. We expect very soon to get, thanks to this partnership, 1.8 billion euros investments into this area, and I would like to invite also Irish companies to join with this process. It's really important to protect cyberspace and to protect cyberspace. We have to cooperate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Stanley.
Thanks very much, and I want to welcome the Vice President here and his staff. I have just two short questions. One is in relation to, you quite rightly said that, the importance of creating a single digital market and the fact that we're in 8th place is good, but we are improving at a slower rate, and hopefully, that collectively that the National Broadband Plan that will be rolled out in the state here over the next couple of years, that will help to move us forward and to keep up a pace. The first question I want to ask you is just in relation to roaming charges. Now, they're due to be abolished on the 15th of June next year, 2017. And the particular problem, and it's only this country will have the problem, because of the unfortunate act of partition of the country, the fact that we have an artificial border, roaming charges, Britain will still be in the European Union. The particular act of political kamikaze won't be completed by then. So there will be still part of the European Union on the 15th of June and for some time after that. But, as things are going, we will have Brexit. Brexit will be complete. What happens, in what way can we safeguard the roaming charges that we have them in the north? Because, for example, if we go to Estonia or if we go to Romania, we will be protected against increased charges. But if we go, a few miles up the road on this island, we could be facing, because Britain will be outside the EU, we could be facing a situation where we will have increased mobile phone charges. And I mean, that's, I need to tell you the effect that will have on business, on commerce, and people who trade north-south. And most political parties are trying to increase, and business are trying to increase north-south trade. So that's just one question I want to ask. And the second one is very short. It's in relation to geo-blocking. There's a question about this, about, who gets to create the act of geo-blocking. And for example, again here, that BBC Spotlight runs a programme. Here in this part of the state, we don't have access to that, whereas, in the north to do, and that's not available. So, who is that matter for? Is that matter for the, free market issue? Or how can we remove that type of geo-blocking? Because you can appreciate, on a small island of little over 6 million people, we need to have access to the same sources of media, and my previous question in relation to mobile phone charges, we need to have the same charges. If we can have them in Estonia, when we go to Estonia or Bulgaria or Romania, we should be able to have them in Belfast and Tyrone and Fermanagh. Thanks very much.
There's 2 questions in that, yeah.
Time is running so quickly, but for me it's good to take a question and then to respond. But maybe some other people, they would like to also to put their questions and then
okay, we might do that.
Respond,
yes, gives you time to maybe respond as well.
Then I will try to be short
okay.
but I can.
I might go to Deputy Dooley, so if that's okay.
Okay, thanks.
And if you
yeah,
could
that's
keep
fine.
your questions
I'll keep
short.
it simple. Just to welcome the Commissioner, thank him for his presence and the work that he has done to date. Commissioner, in your prepared remarks, your second statement says that Ireland is digitally well advanced compared with the rest of Europe. I just want you to know that that's not by accident. That's as a result of a very definite policy by successive governments, much of it around attracting high-end ICT companies, working with them through our education system, working in harmony with them to develop, I suppose, a tech-savvy society. Yesterday, we had 10 hours of discussion in the Parliament in relation to the decision that has emerged from the Competition Commission and the decision of Commissioner Vestager to find against Ireland's tax law from a competition perspective. Now, I don't expect you to answer for the Commissioner, but it would be remiss of me not to raise the issue with you in light of you being a Vice President of the Commission, just to share with you our frustration, our annoyance and our concern, what we believe to be, my party and others believe to be, an overreach by the Commission in straying from competition policy into an area of taxation policy. Commissioner, you're well aware that taxation policy is a competence of Member States. It's not pooled or shared through any of the various different instruments that we have agreed on over the life of the European Union. We vehemently disagree with the position taken by the Competition Commissioner, because we believe it has the capacity to impact on our ability in the first instance to determine and define our own policy in relation to taxation. It's difficult for us as a peripheral state in Europe to attract foreign investment, to attract the kind of tech-savvy companies that have allowed us to emerge and grow and compete with what might be considered mainland Europe. So I would want you to take those comments and share them with your Commission colleagues in due course, and recognise that it's the will of the Parliament of Ireland to defend vigorously its right to set its own tax policy, and obviously that will happen now as a result of the decision taken by the Government in terms of defending against the decision of the Commission. Now, on a more relevant matter to your own brief, and it follows on from what Deputy Stanley has talked about, the importance of the elimination of roaming charges, which I think has been really good work by the Commission. It's been very, very helpful for establishing and building on the freedoms that are already established across Europe. It helps in terms of developing trade. But I noticed in an article, I think, that I read over the last number of days, that the Commission has decided that there's going to be some usage limits on, or there's some proposals around putting in place some usage limits on free roaming. That, I think, would be a retrograde step if that's the case, and perhaps you could clarify that for me. Thank you very much.
Deputy, and I'll ask Senator Riley if you might just ask your questions.
Yes.
Thank you.
Just briefly, I did indicate to you there, Chair, to come in because what I want to say at the outset is relevant to the latter comments of Deputy Dooley, and I can appreciate that you would want to take the two together. I would want, first of all, to welcome you, Commissioner and Vice President, and it's good to have you with us, and I appreciate your initial presentation. I just want at the outset to completely support the view put forward to you by Deputy Dooley, and to say that it reflects a large section of this Parliament, of the Houses of this Parliament. That view is reflective of the large majority of the Parliament. There is a sense of frustration and a sense of alarm, and the point was well made by one of the commentators that where the level of imposition on Ireland, the proposed imposition, the proposed amount of money that merited collection, were that to be valid, then the productivity of the apple workers in Ireland would be beyond anything on a worldwide scale, and would be almost in the area of fiction and science fiction. So it's not a realistic on that level, and it's not realistic on a number of levels. We've operated a very transparent tax system, which is quite transparent and has been discussed at at a number of levels within the EU, has been defended by our leadership, by our Taoiseach at EU level, and discussed openly there. So we do feel the frustration, and I do support Deputy Dooley's concern here, and it would be remiss of us not to have that view brought forward. It's an unrealistic proposition that there could be that kind of onus on this state to collect that kind of money. It's crazy and unacceptable, and we don't go with it. I know it's not specifically your brief, but we have to make you aware of it. To just address very briefly the two questions that I want to address to your brief, and one is that for us to achieve a single digital market, if you like, across Europe, the big need in Ireland is to actually get access to high-speed broadband right across our country. And there's large chunks of rural Ireland, because of population, because of topography, because of a number of factors, and a lack of infrastructure, that don't have access to high-speed broadband. We're now in the process of trying to rectify that, and in the process of doing that, we intend to use what we call the gap funding model, where it'll be the private sector will, in the 37,000 households that will need support from the state to access broadband, the private sector will ultimately get ownership of the network there. But it will be very important to control costs. And you might comment on that, Commissioner, as to what role the EU might play, and you might play as a Commission, in controlling the costs that the private sector could potentially impose on individual consumers. I mean, high-speed broadband is so vital to all these areas of rural Ireland. Before you talk about e-commerce, before you talk about education or local business or anything like that, there's so many people trying to access education locally as well, and it's a huge issue there. To move just very briefly to the e-commerce, I think there's tremendous potential and untapped potential in this country yet for internet sales, and we have a long way to go. And I think obviously we have to get the broadband in place all across the country, but I'd be interested in what comment you might have to make about what steps that we could take to further enhance internet sales and increase them. And they're not, as you can see, that we're not benefiting enough nationally from them yet. So, but there is obviously a growth here. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Deputy Ryan, last person.
Oh, if I can, I'd have to start first by welcoming the Commissioner. I think our experience, my own personal experience in working with the people from Estonia government over the years has been very enterprising, and country that has a lot of close ties with Ireland, so you're very welcome as an Estonian politician. And also your comments on the benefits from advancing this digital single market are absolutely agreed here. I represent a constituency, Dublin Bay South, which is a technology centre, not just of international companies, but also local companies. And I think we have everything to gain in Europe by working together to be technology makers rather than takers, which we would end up being from Asia and America if we don't work together. I'd have to disagree with my two colleagues. There are different views in the Parliament on the likes of the Apple tax issue, but I won't go into the details of that. Suffice to ask, if I could, two questions. Firstly, on the tax issue though, do you believe there is in place now, whatever about the retrospective issue, the current tax tax and transfer pricing rules that allow us to develop e-commerce without that becoming a fundamental difficulty? And secondly, I suppose it's a very specific question, and I don't expect you to get into the politics of it, but you'd recognise that the possibility of a Brexit has huge consequences for development of e-commerce, particularly in this country, given our border north-south and our relationship with the UK. And there are incredibly complex issues that immediately come to mind in how we will manage e-commerce in the Brexit situation with the UK, how we will deal with media providers to this country which are based in the UK and like the satellite providers. The regulation of those will have to be changed if there's an exit, or indeed the fact, given that we were talking about cybersecurity earlier on, that everything we do on the internet is subject to surveillance by the UK government because of the physical location where we are, how we would manage that. The question I have in that regard is not for your opinion, I suppose, on what are difficult, sensitive issues, but will the Commission to be able to provide advice for the likes of parliamentary committees such as this, given the technicalities and difficulties and complexities and all those related issues, when it comes for us to understand what's happening in the negotiations, any future negotiations? Can the Commission provide advice, informal advice, on some of the technical rules that we would have to understand if we were to understand the implications of any negotiation process?
Thank you, Deputy. There are a number of questions there, Vice President, if you want to take them at in whatever order you wish.
Yeah, thank you very much. And some of those questions, they are quite complicated questions. So, as you know, about the United Kingdom, there were two questions at least. Official position of the European Commission is that we will not start to negotiate until the United Kingdom will trigger the Article 50 process. But for me, it's absolutely clear that we have to have good relations, pragmatical relations between the European Union and the United Kingdom also after it will happen and they will leave the European Union. And so we have to find the best solution for the European Union and for the United Kingdom. So there will be so many very, very practical issues, including roaming and how to continue with those roaming surcharges and phone calls in future. But too early to predict, too early to start with the negotiating process. They have to trigger at first this Article 50 process. About roaming surcharges, as we know, we started in the year 2007 already to abolish those roaming surcharges in the European Union, but it was a very complicated process. In the United States, people, they don't remember about roaming surcharges anymore. But in the European Union, we have a generation of people who know how dangerous it is to use your mobile devices when traveling in some other EU member states. Even knowing that this business model based on roaming surcharges is not sustainable, it's quite difficult for the service provider to change their unsustainable business model anyway. If service providers, they have to say their customers that don't use my services when traveling in some other EU member states, then we have to say it's not sustainable business model. If people don't care about this advice and will continue to use those services when traveling in some other countries, they can easily start to hate those service providers because of those bills they have to pay. Let's remember from where we started a little bit more than a year ago. During Latvian presidency, we got to this 5+5+5 proposal. During the 5 days per year, 5 minutes phone calls, roam like at home. Not per day, not free of charge, but roam like at home. Then 5 SMS messages per day during the 5 days, roam like at home. And then 5 megabytes. You opened your iPad, if there are some kind of automatic downloads, or you will visit Facebook and then there will be some videos, you can lose even 100. So do European citizens, they have to be happy about those 5 + 5 + 5? No? Then we had really tough negotiations, and then decision was made. Since May this year, those roaming surcharges, they dropped, according to this decision, once again, 75%. And I would like to say people, they were quite happy already about this decision during those holidays. And decision was made since 15th of June next year, those total roaming surcharges will abolish totally, but we promised to agree in wholesale reform. We promised also to implement those fair use principles. Why those fair use principles that they are needed? In some countries, they are in situation where their people, they visit some southern European countries, for example, more often than people from southern European countries. They are visiting Scandinavian countries, for example. And of course, in those countries, people, they are not ready to pay much more for domestic calls or domestically used data just because of roaming. So we have to set some kind of safeguards to avoid free riding. So Commission didn't make a decision in this field already. Those articles, they were about a proposal, about consultations, which will last for 3 months, and this is about safeguards. And there was also written that as minimum 90 days will be covered. I'm absolutely sure that with a roaming-free phone calls, I'm absolutely sure that big companies, as they started with this practice already, they will continue. They will say that during the whole year, no roaming surcharges anymore. But even for those, safeguards will be needed, because it can happen theoretically, so that people, they will subscribe in those countries where those prices are on a very low level, and they will consume those services in countries where labor costs, they are on a much higher level, for example. So some kind of safeguards will be needed. I don't want to protect this concrete figure, 90 days. For me, 90 or 180, there is not a big difference, because even 90 days will cover 99.9% from all those cases. So, but we can discuss about those issues, and it has to be a compromise. Let's remember about 5 + 5 + 5. Service providers were not ready to move on. Member states, they were not ready to move on. There is strong support coming from the European Parliament, but it's not enough. We have to have consensus among the member states, then European Commission, and the European Parliament, they have also to share the same understanding. So I think Europeans, they deserved total abolishing of roaming surcharges, and in practice, I'm sure it will happen since next year, since 15th of June next year. So then about geo-blocking and programs. During the next couple of weeks, I'm not ready to say when exactly we will make our second copyright reform proposal, and there we would like to propose also some changing in cable and satellite directive. So we would like to extend this country of origin principle also on IPTV, for example, and it means that broadcasters they had clear rights in one country, and as through satellite they can send their content also through IPTV, for example, to Ireland, and people here can enjoy this content. So this is our aim. Proposal is not ready yet. We are in process, but according to broadcasters, even 65% more content will be available across borders if we will implement those changes, this plan. For me, it's not enough. I think we can do more. We can double the volume of the content available for our people across borders. But at the same time, according to our proposal, we will protect our creators. We will provide better remuneration, fair remuneration also to our creators. Ireland and digital developments. I was mayor of second largest town in Estonia during the 6 years, and then during the 9 years I was Prime Minister of Estonia. And for me, but not only for me, but for all Estonians, Ireland was also a really good example. So when we made our reforms in Estonia, we copied the Irish example. Your very liberal model of the economy was dream of every Estonian. So, and yeah, Estonia is now doing also relatively well in digital meaning, for example, rank 7 according to this index. So
you caught up fast.
Yeah,
good learners.
In Estonia, we wanted also to keep our taxation system simple. Tax rates on a quite low level. We practically didn't set some kind of deductions, exceptions, exemptions, whatever. So it has to be very, very simple and transparent, easy to understand to everybody. Apple case. I don't think I'm able to add something really new on all those arguments which were available during this last week already. I think the situation will be a little bit different when we will publish this case, but it's up to Irish governments to push on button. Commission is ready to do it right now, but Irish government has to be absolutely sure that we will not make public, for example, confidentiality of taxation or business secrets and so on, and it takes time. It takes time, and yeah, more legal clarity will be really good, and I'm absolutely sure this case will provide legal clarity not only for Ireland, but not only for the European Union, but for the whole world. So. access to high-speed broadband, about core investments, I described already our plans to attract investments to build up fiber networks, for example, in rural areas where density of population is not so high, to attract on basis of today's rules those investments. As I said in the very beginning, according to my understanding, Ireland is moving on the right direction, and we have to turn the whole Europe to move in the same direction. I myself, I would like to protect also those first movers, first investors. Competition has to stay as a central principle, but in some cases we have to protect also those who will take huge risks in one Central Europe or Western European country, for example, in one town, service provided by incumbent telecom service provider was not so good at all, and then local investors and this incumbent company wasn't ready to improve the situation, and then local investors they invested, they decided to create better internet, but then incumbent decided that new competitors, they are not needed, and of course they have enough funds to kill that kind of initiatives. So is it fair? I don't think so, and we have to find something to protect those first movers also. But once again, I would like to repeat that competition has to stay as a general principle. I said that in coming weeks we will make our telecom proposal, and we will set new goals, new aims for the European Union, new objectives, and among those objectives there will be gigabit connection for main social drivers, then 5G everywhere for everybody, 100 megabits per second connection for whole houses, for whole household, etc. At least 500 billion euros investments will be needed for that. And according to analysis, if we will not change our rules, if we will not try to attract more investments, then there will be a cap. According to some concrete analysis, 155 billion from 500. It's big. And that we have to try at least to cover this gap. So, as I said, our aim in the European Commission is the same as you have here in Ireland, to cover the whole country, to cover the whole territory of the European Union with a high-speed network. So, yeah. Time is over.
Yep. Thank you very much, Mr. Ansip, and I want to thank you and your colleagues for coming before us today for what I think is a very worthwhile engagement. And I propose that we forward the transcript of this meeting to the Minister for Communications, Energy and Natural Resources for his information and consideration. Is that agreed? I also propose that the committee publishes the submissions received in relation to this meeting. Is that agreed? Agreed. As the project team leader, Mr. Ansip, we wish you every success in the establishment of the digital single market, and we look forward to reaping the benefits here in Ireland and for Europe as a whole. We wish you the very best in your endeavours. Thank you very much. I now propose to suspend the meeting for 5 minutes to resume in private session just to deal with a few housekeeping matters. Is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you very much.
Fruitful cooperation between us in the future. Thank you.